Well, I mean, at least it's working on YouTube.
That's awesome.
We have that much going for us. Okay. All right. Well, um, if we want to get started, hi.
Sure.
I'm Allie. This is Romance Ever After. This is the first time we're doing a live episode of the podcast. Normally, when I'm doing this, I'm talking to people, and the first instinct is, oh my God, are we going to use video? I'm like, no, 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 don't worry about it. You can look like trash. But for once, I actually had to comb my hair because we're turning on the cameras
No.
today. Um, so let's get started. My guest today is Elizabeth Kerri Mahon. Elizabeth, let's go through your bio. Elizabeth is a native New
Sure.
Yorker and amateur historian. While other kids were reading Dr. Seuss, she would read history books for fun. But the more she studied, the more she wanted to know about the women who made it, only to find that section in her school library was rather slim. Still, she persevered, reading everything she could get her hands on. The results of her research is the blog Scandalous Women, scandalouswomen.blogspot.com. It launched in the fall of 2007 to reach an audience eager to discover some of history's most fascinating and flagrant women. She is a member of the Historical Novel Society, RWA NYC, where she served for 4 years as president. Her first book, Scandalous Women, was released in March of 2011 to enthusiastic reviews. Since the book's release, it has been sold in Thailand, Poland, Korea, and was a bestseller in Singapore. The book has been featured in Daily Candy, weekend section, and it was the RT Book Review nonfiction pick of the month of April 2011. She's a pop culture diva. She's written for the pop culture site rewardtv.com, as well as Heroes and Heartbreakers, A Perfect Romance, and Criminal Element. She was also briefly featured in the BBC America TV show Royally Mad. A professional actress, she's played virgins, vixens, and princesses in everything from Shaw to Shakespeare. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
Ah,
I can't-
I'm happy to have you. It's always a pleasure to talk to people about movies, even when it's movies I don't like. so,
Ah,
so thank you for coming on. So before we get started in on the movie, I
okay.
always like to hear about people's personal histories, their romantic story, their love story with romantic comedies. Can you tell me a little bit about yours?
Oh gosh. I can't remember the first romantic comedy that I ever watched, but I think it was probably Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant in Bringing Up Baby. That's the first one that I really remember. Um, and loving it because Katharine Hepburn totally plays against type as a ditz. Um, and ever since then, romantic comedies have just, they're one of my favorite forms of movies. I mean, in 2016, when You Know Who was elected, for like the first 2 months, all I did was watch Hallmark Channel rom-coms. I just like the most, I just watched them like on a loop. So I mean, I love them. I love even the ones that are the most trope-tastic, um, even ones that most people think are awful. There's just something about it. Um, the whole idea that two people from maybe different backgrounds or whatever will somehow conquer all and end up together. There's just something life affirming about it.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the things that everybody loves about them, and it's one of those key things that I think kind of draws the parallels to romance books, romance novels. Um, they're life affirming, they end happily, they give people something to hope for, and when we're not having great days, like we have been for like I guess the better part of a decade now,
Yeah.
it's really helpful to have these things to turn to. So that's kind of your story. Do you have any tropes that you like? die for?
I love best friends to lovers, and I also love enemies to lovers. I just, you know, um, what was that? The most recent one that just came out, um, the one about the two assistants
The one that was the remake. It
with
was the
Lucy Hale. With Lucy
okay.
Hale,
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, that went clear out
like
of my
I
head.
hate
That's
you.
yeah, that's the one that's based on the Sally Thorne book.
Yes,
God, just went out my head, and I
yeah.
watched that a couple of times.
I
Oh,
just
now I
I
have to.
just love two people who like hate each other, and then, they're thrown together and they have to like figure out how to work together, and while working together they fall in love.
Yeah, The Hating Game. That's what it's called.
Yes, the hating game. The hating game.
Yeah.
Love that one. So those are my
Awesome.
two favorites.
Okay, what's a trope that you can't stand?
Um it's a trope that you don't find often in romantic comedies. You do find it a lot on soaps. I
Hmm.
hate I hate accidental pregnancies. I just I just hate it. We're in 2021. People should be responsible enough to use birth control. I just, I don't like it. Um, Other than that, I will watch anything. I will watch fake dating. I will watch Second Chance at Love. But accidental pregnancy,
No
it's not
surprise
for me.
babies for you.
No, do not like surprise babies. Oh, I didn't tell you I had your child 10 years ago.
No secret
Whoopsie.
babies either.
I must have slipped my mind. And I think that's cruel.
Yeah.
There's something about it that I just think it's cruel. And I've never really read an accidental pregnancy um, that really worked for me. But if anyone has any recommendations, I'm happy to give it a shot.
Yeah. And you have to try it at least. You you have to try it until you find the one that like actually works for you.
Yeah. And I haven't found one that works for me yet. So that's my
Okay.
least favorite.
Okay. Cool. Well, now that we've talked about things you hate, let's talk about something I hate. This movie. So we're talking about 2002's Maid in Manhattan. So this came out at the end of 2002. It's one of the movies I think they actually really started when New York was just finally like getting back together after 9/11. I think this is one of the first movies that they really shot in the city. Um,
Yeah.
it was okay. So the birth of this story was actually a script written by John Hughes.
I think is
But
hilarious.
yeah, but he didn't want to do it anymore. He was dropped off the project, which is why anytime you see any credits in there where you see Edmond Dantes, that's his I don't want my name attached to this name that he uses for lots of projects. Like if you ever see Edmond Dantes in anything from like 1980 something to like when he died, I think he died in like 2008, that's probably John Hughes because that's his nom de plume for shit he doesn't want to be attached to. Um, so anyway, so he dropped off the project, but when he was supposed to direct the project, Hilary Swank was supposed to be the lead. But
It was going to
when
be
John
called The
left,
Chambermaid.
yes, but when John left, she left. So then it was like, another one of those development hell projects. J Lo got attached, and they had a different person come in and actually finish out the script, and that is Kevin Wade, who actually wrote. He wrote on a bunch of things, including Working Girl, Meet Joe Black. Yeah, so he's written on a lot of things. I think he actually produced Kashmir Mafia, which was what a lot of people called kind of a Sex in the City knockoff on. I think it was on ABC, but it
It
was
was
actually pretty
ABC.
yeah, it was actually pretty cute. kind of upset that it got canceled. Um, but besides that, so that's kind of like the background of how it got started. They filmed it in the spring of April 2002, and it came out that Christmas to, I mean, not great reviews, but a lot of
No.
popularity. People really enjoyed this movie. I don't know why, but maybe you can explain it to me. Um, so without further ado, let's get into the story of Marissa Ventura and her kid Ty, the maid.
I love Ty.
Ty is the only thing I like in this movie. Baby Tyler Posey is freaking adorable in this.
He's so cute. I'm even willing to like forgive him for his, weird fascination with Richard Nixon.
Yeah, what is that? What is that? Where did
Oh
that come from?
no.
They were like, we have to have a kid in here, and he has to like get nervous and has to have a connection with a politician for some reason. I don't know. Um, yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird, but he's so cute. He does so much with
He's
so very
just
little he's
he's
given.
so adorable. And she is so good with him in this
Mhm.
film. When I was watching it again, it made me think about how she must be with her own kids
Mhm.
because their relationship as mother and son is so adorable that
Yeah.
for me it's one of the highlights of the film is
Mhm.
their mother son relationship.
Yeah.
And I think it's
They're
also one of the few films where you actually get to see J Lo as a mom.
It is.
So
It's like this and enough. Those are like all we get. Like even the one where she's like where she gets inseminated and she dates what's his name? Like I don't even think we get to see her as a mom with that. I think we just see her through the pregnancy. But like
yeah,
this and enough are like basically all we have to see JLo as a mom on screen. And she really is really adorable with Tyler. And like I said, he's the only thing I like in this movie. Even though he has the strangest obsession with Richard Nixon. Um so yeah, so anyway, so the story opens up. Little Ty has to give a speech at school, and he's so nervous, but she's like, "You can do it. I believe in you. Well, I'll be there to see it." I don't know what kind of. I know they have like the most random like things for kids, but like I don't even know what the ceremony is. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
yeah.
Um she's a maid in an upper crust hotel. I think it's supposed to be like the Waldorf or something.
It is. It was shot. At least the exteriors were shot at the Waldorf Astoria on Park Avenue.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be something like super upper crust, like very hoity-toity hotel where you have a floor butler who sees to your every needs for the suites and like things like that. So she's a maid and like she's clearly friendly with everyone, and she's very attentive to her job. She notices all of her customers easily in the camera, and she's like, "Oh, I know who that is. Take care of them." And she has nicknames for everybody, and she's just very friendly. She's a good maid, she's a good person, and everybody likes her. And her coworkers want what's best for her, and she just goes about her life in the hotel working as hard as she can. There's this possible promotion that she could go up for, but she's nervous about going up for it because she doesn't really believe in herself that way, even though she wants to be a manager.
Yes.
And her coworkers like, "You have to do it. You have to go for it. You would be great at the job." While she's working, she works mainly on the floor of suites. So like where like the richest, fanciest people are, the hoitiest of the toitiest. And she works closely with the floor butler, who's played by Bob Hoskins, which he just feels like such a waste in here to me. Like you could have gotten anybody to do this job.
Yeah, I don't know why they spent the money on a former Oscar nominee to play this role when they could have gotten, if they wanted an English butler, they could have hired Simon Jones, who's currently playing a butler on The Gilded Age. He could have done it. and they could have saved themselves so much money because, as you said, Bob Hoskins gets nothing to do in this film except give J-Lo a pep talk later in the film. I mean,
Yeah,
just
the most acting he does is when he cuts his hand. Like that's it. That is the most gravitas he brings to this role. So like I don't know why it's Bob Hoskins. They could have saved all I'm saying they could save the salary. So she works closely with him and she's of course very kind and attentive to all of her guests and that's noted by the staff. And so when he does cut his hand, she takes over for him to go help a guest, played by Natasha Richardson, who I completely forgot was in this movie. R.I.P. That wonderful woman. Completely forgot she was in this movie, but she plays a bitch very well. Um, and she goes to help her unpack. And she has all these clothes that need to be pressed and hung up, but she has these outfits that she got from Dolce, and she's not sure which
Dolce and
one
Gabbana.
works. So she needs her to go get her oh my god, pantyhose so that she can decide which outfit she's going to keep. Of course.
And why does she not have any pantyhose?
Beats me. I mean,
Other than
I
the
mean,
fact that it's a plot point.
well, like, or the idea that it gets lost in translation that she has to go get the pantyhose. I That's the
And she's
thing that I
wearing and
didn't
she's wearing a pantsuit. Like
no. That bothered me. Like, why does she really need the pantyhose? It's a pantsuit. It makes no
and
sense.
even if there was like another dress, she can still put her feet in the shoes without the pantyhose
And more
on.
important and more importantly, like concierge, she's right, the concierge would take care of that. There would be nothing lost in translation. Like
Yeah.
why couldn't J-Lo just relate that to the concierge? Because she wasn't taking it back up to the room. She immediately had to leave off with her mother. So like she could have just passed it along. I don't know. Anyways, it gives us this little scene where J Lo gets like a little snippy with a woman behind the counter at I'm guessing like Saks or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's Saks
And
because that's the closest department store.
yeah, and she's like kind of standing up for the lower class woman or whatever. I don't know. It was really random and it doesn't fit in with anything else in the movie. Like she doesn't go back there and like some sort of pretty woman way. Like I don't even know. So she rushes off to go see her kid, give his little speech at school, which he flubs about Richard Nixon. And one of those really pointless kids have a performance thing at school thing, but she's a good mom. She's there for her kid, right?
And the other thing is, while she's sitting there, the ex-husband or ex-boyfriend, whatever, calls to say that he can't make it. He's in Miami doing whatever it is that he does. We never see him again. We never see him at all in this movie.
No.
So I don't even know what the point of it was. Because when I first saw this movie, I thought he was going to be a plot point, like he was going to come back later in the movie and maybe want her back or something. But all he is a voice on the phone.
Mhm. That's it.
I'm like, oh, okay, so he's a deadbeat dad.
That's it. That's all it is. He's a deadbeat dad, and I mean, even if this is supposed to be a sign of this is why she has no faith in men, like that really doesn't even come up when she's with our hero who we will meet shortly. Our hero is played by Ralph Fiennes. He's Christopher Marshall, who is like supposed to be political royalty. His
He's supposed
father
to be
was
JFK Jr.
basically his father was a senator. He's a state assembly person, and he's supposed to be exploring the idea that he's going to run for his father's seat. And so he's decided to base himself in the hotel in New York for some reason.
Which again makes no sense. We never find out what part of New York State he's supposed to be the assemblyman from, and So why he doesn't have like a campaign office to go to, why it's out of this fancy schmancy hotel is never explained.
No.
Um, he's rich, so he could easily have an apartment in New York, but then he wouldn't run into Marissa. So
So originally he was just supposed to be like a rich British tourist who was in town for something. And that makes it make more sense that Caroline, who's played by Natasha, feels a little bit more like in his league and in his world, and like that would have made way more sense because Natasha is supposed to be coming over from London with the House of Sotheby's because they're trying to like win some like big pricey estate.
yeah.
So that would make more sense to me. But no, I we have to link it up with the Nixon speech for some reason. Uh,
And I don't understand why Caroline Lane, couldn't have been, you know, someone, she could have worked for Sotheby's in New York and still have been British and still could have met him at some like event in the Hamptons. Um, you know, that would have made, or he could have been some rich guy who had something that he was going to auction off. And that's how he met
yeah.
Caroline Lane.
Yeah, I'm just saying the reasons for these rich people being in this hotel are very flimsy and they make no sense. Um but anyway, so that's Chris, our hero. He's of course, like I said, he's exploring his run. They're staying in the hotel. He's got this big old dog, Great Dane named Rufus, who he obviously adores. And so he's
Which shows he's a
decided,
good person because he loves dogs.
yeah. So he has his dog with him in this hotel. The way his and Marissa's worlds converge are in a very like very meet cutie way. So Marissa brings her kid to the hotel because no childcare. Obviously, we can all understand that. I do think it's a little bit weird that housekeeper's bringing her kid and
And
just
no one at the hotel says anything.
just leaving him with random people and they're all cool with it. And that I think that is my biggest problem with this whole movie is that everybody is so unbearably loyal to her and I don't know why. I never see that anywhere on the screen.
Yeah, and in a hotel like the Waldorf Astoria or here like the Beresford, which is, rich fancy schmancy hotel, they would not be cool with her bringing her kid. And the implication is that she's done this before. This is not the
Mhm.
first time that Ty has been brought to the hotel. I can't imagine the Four Seasons or the Plaza or whatever, any of the management of the hotel being cool with an
Yeah.
employee bringing their kid and just leaving them with random employees who are trying to do their work and then
Yeah.
him just wandering around the hotel.
Yeah. It's a little weird. So Ty, who is incredibly still upset with himself with the way he messed up his speech. He can't concentrate on his action figures or his Game Boy. So he just needs to get out. He needs to go for a stroll around the hotel. And he ends up in the elevator with Chris, his campaign manager, played by Stanley Tucci, back when people treated Stanley Tucci like he had to play like the absolute like annoying character in every scene, before we truly appreciated him for who he is.
But he still looked like a snack.
So he's on the elevator with Chris and Jerry is just immediately suspicious of this child because he's a precocious kid. He's asking good questions. And at one point Jerry's like, who do you work for? Which paper are you with? And poor little Ty's like, I'm 10, what? And he asks if he can go with Chris to walk Rufus, and Chris is like totally delighted by the kid. He's like, yeah, sure. You and Ty's like, I just have to ask my mom. She's upstairs on the 22nd in such and such suite. He's like, yeah, I'll come with you. We'll go ask your mom together. Meanwhile, in the suite, Caroline Lane's suite, Marissa and her work bestie are trying on Caroline's clothes, which one of the outfits is this cream coat and uh, a sleeveless white cream turtleneck and like
Turtleneck.
these really nice pants. Like she's trying on this full outfit that this woman is returning to Dolce. And when Tyler busts in the room, when Tyler busts in the room, you know, her friend's like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Marissa, just come on out. But then in follows Chris, and it's like, oh shit, we're going to get in trouble. We're definitely going to have to like play along with this. And Chris is just like immediately just kind of smitten with her. Like,
And so is she when they say hello. They have that where she's like, "Hello," and he's like, "Hello," but he doesn't remember that he had met her before
mm-hmm.
when the butler had the hand and she was cleaning the suite and she was in the bathroom and Chris came into the bathroom to pee.
Which, in his defense, the man needed to pee. I barely recognize what's going on in my bathroom, and I don't expect there to be another human being in it too. So I understand that he didn't remember her because she was also like she had her head down in the ground, and then he like notices that there's this other human being in there, and she like immediately scurries out of the room. Like, so I get that he doesn't remember her, but like she's a little paranoid that he might remember her and she's going to get in trouble because she's playing dress up in a guest suite. Excuse me.
With
Um,
$5,000 Dolce and Gabbana clothes.
yes, that she's supposed to be returning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so he convinces her to come out with him and Ty on this walk with Rufus. And when they leave the hotel, they're immediately swarmed with cameras. And she like books it because she's like, oh shit, I don't want to get caught, you know, being in a guest clothes, I could get fired. And he deals with the cameras like very diplomatically, like, you know, just give me this moment alone with this on this walk. I'll get you into an event that's happening later in the week. And they all like make their little deals and they go about their way. And, you know, you get the sense that he is really he's politically he's very charming, but you also get the sense like he's supposed to be like kind of a decent human being too because he understands like this woman doesn't want to be swarmed by cameras. And as they're walking through the park, they're having like just kind of a nice conversation. And she seems to kind of like him and like he seems like a real person. And Ty is running around with the giant doll.
It's like it's so picture perfect. Um, the two of them walking, and she puts a magazine down because they're going to sit down, and she doesn't want to dirty this expensive suit that she's wearing, and she almost accidentally sits on his face.
Which what I thought was actually a good joke.
That was a very good joke. The other thing that struck me about the scene with the paparazzi is like if you made this movie now in 2021, there's no way the paparazzi are going to be like, "Oh yeah, thank you, Mr. Politician, for getting us into another event." Well, of course not, whatever. They would be like still clicking,
Well,
clicking. It would be on Twitter in 5 seconds.
the problem wouldn't be the paparazzi because the camera people probably would still make those deals. It is the fact that everybody in that park they're about to walk
Park
through has a camera phone and
camera.
would be like, oh my god, is that who I think it is, and take a picture and post it.
Yes.
So Jerry, who is desperate to get Chris back to the hotel for some sort of women's voter luncheon. Um,
which his
is
opponent is at.
Yes, which is, yeah, his opponent is actually speaking at, and Chris thinks it's just rude and, uncouth to like crash this benefit. Again, he's supposed to be a good politician. Um not just a good politician, a good Republican politician. And so he's like,
Which is again hilarious.
I guess. He sends this dog walker who's from the hotel to like come get Rufus. So this can kind of free up this situation a little bit even more. And they're still ducking camera people in the park. And so, we just have to end the scenario as quickly as possible. And she runs off with Ty and goes back to the hotel and just tries to pretend like this never happened. But he's devoted to the idea of this woman that he's had maybe an hour with after they've walked the park. They've gone to see the penguins. He's talked to her son about like how to get over stage fright. They've had this whole idyllic little afternoon in Central Park, which isn't she still supposed to be working?
I know, that was the other thing, was that, she was supposed to be working in the suite, but yet she leaves for like a good hour in the middle of the day, and somehow her friend is able to cover for her, and no one notices that she's missing or anything, except for the security guard, who sees all and everything,
Mhm.
and kind of is her friend. But yeah, the fact that no one seems to notice anything is hilarious to me, that that there's no one sort of like following around or making sure that the work is being done. She's just gone.
Yeah. Or even her floor butler. Like he hasn't checked in with her. Like
No.
what's going on? What is Bob Hoskins doing with that paycheck is what I want to know.
He's butlering for somebody else on the floor, I guess.
Yeah. So when Chris gets back, I guess you know what he's seeing to the repair of the TV, because when Chris gets back, he's in the suite with like some sort of repairman who's like trying to fix the in-wall TV. And he immediately requests that he go and ask Caroline Lane in the Park Suite if she could come to lunch with him. I guess I don't know if it's the next day or the same day. I don't know the timeline of this movie. I don't
It's the
care.
next day. It's the
Okay.
next day.
All right. He asked if she could come to lunch and he delivered this note to her. And so he's like, yeah, sure. I'll take care of that for you immediately. And he goes to the suite where it's Natasha and she's with Amy Sedaris doing her best bratty best friend role. And, they're already complaining about the fact that Natasha's boyfriend was cheating on her with somebody and she caught him. And then here comes this note from this JFK Jr. like person who is requesting that she come to lunch with him. And she's like, oh, he must remember me from such and such. Oh, this is wonderful. This is perfect. And it's just like, it's fortuitous for her. So we have this perfect conflagration. Like he thinks that she's in this suite. She's obviously not in this suite. And because he's invited this Caroline person, when Natasha shows up, it's like perfect chaos because he's like, who is this woman? Like what, this is not the woman I spent the wonderful idyllic afternoon with. Um like he's like asking, well, do you have a friend who looks like such and such, who was maybe
I
in your
love this
room?
scene. The comedy in this scene, where J Lo as Marissa is serving at this lunch, because
Mhm.
her friend had put in um, the application for her to be a manager behind her back, as all good friends do. And of course, she's accepted into the program like right away.
Of
Like
course.
she doesn't even have to like sit down and really, like, she has like a brief like 5-minute interview where Chris Eigenman says, well, it's 6 weeks and you have to do this, but we're going to accelerate. Normally it takes this amount of time, but we're going to accelerate you into this program. So, like, in a month, you'll be a manager. Like, yeah, okay. And so Bob Hoskins gets to have his moment of showing, Marissa how to lay a table, which now I know how to lay a table. Thank you, Bob Hoskins. But, you have the comedy of J-Lo trying to like hide so that Chris doesn't see her as a maid, while
Mhm.
Chris is talking to Natasha going, who are you? I mean, it's a brilliant bit of comedy in the scene, and Bob Hoskins kind of figuring out that something's going on, but he doesn't quite know what.
Mhm.
That's where his
Yeah.
acting comes in.
Well, that's the thing about this scene. I think in a different movie it would be played a little bit more slapsticky than it was.
Yes.
J-Lo is very, very like very mild in her hiding of her face and trying not to show her face. When she overhears Chris asking Bob about, do you know of a woman who looks like this with a son named Ty? Which clearly everybody in this hotel knows her and knows that she uses like the staff as daycare. So clearly you also know her son's name is Ty. He doesn't say anything, and she's just like kind of got her shoulders hunched, like she's trying to like pretend like she didn't hear anything. But yeah, it's not played as slapsticky as I think it would be in a different movie. And
Or with a
depending on how
different
you,
actress who's, has that sort of skill. Like if
yeah,
Anne Hathaway had played this role, they probably would have played it more slapsticky. Or even Kate
yeah,
Hudson, they would have played it a little bit more slapsticky.
yeah. Her discomfort with the situation would be less realistic and a little bit more comedic.
Yeah.
And I think J-Lo plays it very realistic. And I think personally, it depends on how you feel about it. I think personally it's a missed opportunity to at least enjoy that bit of timing. But anyway, so after this, he's like, okay, well, that's not the person who I thought it was. Um, and this we get the only he's leaving the hotel, and we get like literally the only, I think the biggest slapsticky moment in this movie is when he sees Caroline coming out of the hotel, and he like dives into the car with Jerry to get away from her, because the last thing he wants to do is spend another moment with Caroline. And when he's in the car, he's like, Jerry, you find this woman. I will do whatever the hell you want. I will go to whatever dinner you want. I will talk to whoever you want. Just find me this woman. And he's like, oh, bet I will go do that. And so he immediately goes to Bob, and he's like, I'm calling the man Bob, but that's not his name. His name is Lionel. He goes to Lionel and he asks him to help him find the woman, and it's in the middle of one of their staff meetings, and Marissa sees him, and she like immediately ducks behind all of her friends so that Jerry doesn't see her standing there amongst the staff. And that's when Lionel puts two and two together officially, and he's like, I don't know what the hell is going on, but you need to go to this benefit. You need to end it with him. And then once you're a manager, you can date whoever the hell you want. But right now, you need to put a stop to this. And so she decides that she's going to go. And this is when she has her Cinderella moment. And again, this is when I'm like, how does this woman have all of these favors with all these people? It's like she
That
gets
they're all willing.
they're all willing to help her with her hair, loan her a dress, do the makeup, do the shoes, loan her a Harry Winston necklace and earrings for the evening. Like how
They're like the little, in Cinderella the movie, the mice and everything, the little
yeah.
animal creatures. They're like humans doing the same
Like, 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 like,
thing. But no, I can't imagine why, they would loan her, and they loan her a Harry Winston necklace and earrings, and they don't send a security guard with her.
No, no, and even worse, when she loans out the earrings and necklace, she doesn't take it directly to her. She gives it to the 10-year-old to take to her. Like, what the hell? She's like, she doesn't take it directly to her. She gives it to Ty, and Ty carries it off
But I
to.
love what she says to Ty about, if he loses it, um, what is it, that his mother will go to jail for X amount of years, or
Like, it's worth more than 10 of his lives, and
yes,
if he loses it, sure, his mother will go to jail and he will never see her again, essentially.
yes, he'll be sent to an orphanage,
Yeah.
and his mother will go to jail.
Yeah. It's like, that was kind of funny, but like, it's also, again, how did she engender all this loyalty? At least with the mice in the movies, that, she took care of the mice. She gave them cheese. She didn't let the cat get to them. She let them live. And this, I don't know why anybody likes her or cares about her. And I think that's also the crux of like any good Cinderella movie, is that it's not that we know she's good, it's that we know she's good to everybody around her, and this inspires such loyalty to her, even though like she has this stepmother figure or stepsisters are who don't like her and don't treat her well. Like, we know everybody else loves her because she's good to them, but we never see her be good to them. We just see that she's really good at her job. And I mean, yes, being a part of a team is good, but like, me just being really good at my job has never made any of my coworkers like me.
Yeah, if they had, when she showed up for work, and she shows up in the first scene when she comes to work, she shows up just in time. Because
Hmm.
she stops and gets coffee and, like a pastry at the coffee cart. If they had done that scene differently, and they had seen her like come in and say, "Oh, hey, security guard guy," um,
Or if she brought pastry for everybody or brought coffee for
right,
everybody,
like she had
like, she
bought
would
stuffed
do
coffee, Krispy Kreme, or baked something. Her mother baked something to
that.
show that she had done favors for people, and that's why they were willing to do things for her. Like she'd
Yeah. Hmm.
done extra shifts for friends or something. But the
Hmm.
fact that they're so willing to be like, here, wear this expensive evening gown, and here, the hotel beauty salon, and they do her hair with extra hair and the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets the full on Cinderella treatment. In this moment, she gets the glam up, and she's off to the benefit at the Met, and there she sees him, and she has like such a great entrance. She does look gorgeous. I mean, the dress is perfect, the hair looks great, she looks gorgeous,
The
the Harry
jewelry.
Winston jewelry is perfect. My goodness, just stunning. She looks gorgeous, so I get why he wants to do her at the end of the night. That's very clear. But I just don't know why anybody helped her look like that. But yeah, she gets in there. He sees her. He immediately goes to her. They're dancing. They're having she's having kind of this conversation like, it can only be one night sort of thing. You have to let me go. And he's having none of that. But Jerry is like, all right, she's here. I got her here. You're happy. I need you to go do the thing you said you were going to go do. And in the process of when he's doing that, we see that Caroline is there because she got her single $3,000 plate ticket. Um,
Which she charged to the hotel,
yeah.
which, um, FYI, you cannot charge benefit tickets to your hotel bill
No.
unless it's something the concierge got her. So then
Yeah,
I
I think
guess
it,
you
I think
can.
I think it was the concierge got her the ticket, and that's the only reason why it went to her bill. But she was very incensed about the fact that a singles ticket costs more than a couples ticket. Um, so she comes on to the fact that she's Marissa, and Marissa, who she's barely paid attention to this whole entire movie, even though she's talked to her multiple times. She knows she looks familiar, and so she because she sees her with Chris, she's like, I need to know who this hoe is, because she's clearly my competition, and I've got to stomp it out. But because he asked me to dinner, why is he dancing with this woman? Um, and he's like, because he's dancing with her, she's not paying attention to me. He's not paying attention to me now. So she's very much on the case of who is this mystery woman. And Marissa tries to like flag her off, like, oh yeah, I know you from Sotheby's. Like that's how I met you, but not say who she is. But she's got the bait. She knows something's up now. Chris chases after Marissa, who is like running out of this event.
Just like Cinderella, except she doesn't drop a slipper.
Yeah, but he does catch her. And when he catches her, he's like, fine, one night, okay, whatever. And we get one of those things that we don't get in rom coms anymore. We get a sex scene. And yeah, no, we're not watching the whole full event. We get a little bit more than just a kiss. And we see them wake up next to each other, and we see her sneak out. She's like, okay, Cinderella time is over. She takes like the pieces out of a weave out of her hair. She stills his sweats and says, hey, I'll get them back to you. And she's sneaking out for the night. The next morning, she calls her kid, says, I'm not going to make it home before you go to school. So, I will see you after school. Grandma will take care of you.
The other thing is she leaves her kid with her coworker, not her her mother.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Again, why do these people like her so much? I just want one person to tell me. So she goes about her day. She goes to work. She had such a great night with him. She is really smitten with him. But Caroline, who is like a dog with a bone, has
Didn't
gone down to
she
security.
see but didn't she also see her sneak out of the
Yeah,
suite?
yeah, that's what really did it for her, because she saw her sneaking out in with her hair down, not wearing the makeup, and she's wearing like schlubbier clothes. She sees him coming out of the room, and that's when like it kind of clicks to her. So she goes down to security, and because at this time when she sees her doing that, she's already plotting for reasons for her of all people to go to Buffalo to run into him at work. Like even her buddy was like, what do you have to do in Buffalo? She's like, I don't know, I'll come up with something. um so she goes down security, and she's just going through all of the security footage she can to see if she can spot her. And even when she sees her as a maid, she doesn't notice her, but she does notice her Dolce coat when she leaves out of the hotel with Chris that one time. And she's like, oh, she stole my coat. And of course, the coat isn't there because the coat has been returned to Dolce where it belonged. But she's
Yeah.
like, she stole my coat. Um, you've got it. You've got to get her. And so like she gets called into the suite where Caroline is, and Caroline has basically said, you stole my coat, you're going to get fired for this. And Caroline has requested that Chris come into the room as well, so that Chris sees that she is a maid.
Dun dun
and
dun.
she has been lying to him all this time. And Chris isn't as bothered by the fact that she's a maid as he is bothered by the fact that she wasn't honest with him.
Yes, that she lied.
Yeah. And because at one point he does run into her on the street earlier in the movie, and she admits that she grew up in the Bronx, and she's lived in like the 4 block radius her whole entire life. And so something has to tip off in his head that this isn't like a fancy rich lady. This is somebody who's probably of lower class, but he doesn't care. he's into her.
Yeah.
So he's just mostly mad that she won't be honest with him. And so Marissa gets fired, and as she's taking off out of the hotel, um, Chris is following her and yelling at her about like why wouldn't you be honest with me, blah blah blah. Of course, the paparazzi and press all catch wind of this, and they chase after these two who are basically having the most public fight in a cemetery one can have. And Jerry, poor Jerry, is trying to like block the press out because he's trying to keep his candidate's career. And she's like, we're from different worlds. You don't really know me. This can never work,
You didn't
essentially.
notice me when I was a maid. You didn't notice me, but it was only when I wore the fancy clothes
Hmm.
that you paid
Again,
attention to me.
again, the man was trying to pee, and you were like picking up a pill bottle off the ground. Like, cut him some slack, but whatever. Uh, so so at that point, it's like we're never speaking again. Like, this is over. We don't, this is over. This can never happen. We're from different worlds, blah blah blah. Moving on. She goes and wanders about the city rather than going straight home.
And she's still in her maid's uniform. Like, didn't they give her time? Like, they probably told her to clean out her locker.
Yeah,
So
they
why
did.
didn't she change into her regular clothes? Why is she still wearing this maid's uniform?
And we already saw that they clean and press the maid's uniform for them to wear at the beginning and then their shifts.
Every Yes.
So why? Um, but anyway, so she wanders about the city, and when she gets home,
In her
she's
stolen
tired.
maid's uniform.
She's tired and she doesn't want to talk to her mother. Her mother, who is very, very upset. Like, HR has already called. I know what's happened. Where have you been? We expected you hours ago. And like, this is what you get for like, essentially
Reaching.
like reaching above your station kind of conversation. And like, she doesn't want to hear it from her mother. Her mother, who I don't even think lives with her, she just helps out occasionally. So
Yeah.
like, she's mostly taking care of her own life. She just needs help with childcare. And I mean, frankly, what parent doesn't? Um, and so she's like, yeah, maybe I was reaching above my station, but whatever. I'm going to try. I'm not going to live life your way. And one of the things about her relationship with her mother, which I didn't understand, it was like they were forcing it to be a bad relationship. Um, that it didn't have to be. Like,
Yeah, I didn't get why her mother was like, call up Mrs. what is it, Mrs. Lopez or whatever,
mhm,
and tell her that you can go and get a job cleaning houses.
yeah,
Like,
like, no, no,
I didn't understand that.
or like when her mom saw the application for her being a manager, like she didn't think it was a good idea for her. Like, I it was the stuff around her job and why she wouldn't be a manager and all that stuff. It was so haphazard. I didn't feel very thought through. Like, they wanted to give her some sort of plot outside of this romance plot, and they didn't know how to execute it. Like, that I think that's one of the things that bothers me a lot. Um
Yeah, I kind of felt that because they were so stuck with this, like, it's a Cinderella story type
mhm,
thing, that it was like, well, we've got the two wicked stepsisters in Caroline Lane and her friend, so we
mhm.
have to make her mother like the wicked stepmother who's, always trying to like bring her down, that, you're never going to be more than a maid and you should just accept that that's your lot in life.
Which makes no sense, because if we're basing her whole Cinderella shtick around the hotel, that should live in the hotel too. That should be the thing that's keeping her from wanting to apply to the managerial position, is because they have some sort of assistant manager who's like, you're just a maid. You don't need to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I
Yeah,
don't get
like
why they,
Frances
and
Conroy could have done that. Like, she could have
yeah,
been, when her friend raised her hand and said, "Can anyone apply, even a maid?" the assistant manager, Frances Conroy, could have been, well, yes, but.
Yeah. And that's another waste of pay salary right there. Like, why the hell do you have Frances Conroy in here? Like, what is she doing? Especially if she's not the actual manager. If Chris is the manager who is overseeing these things, why is she assistant manager? If she's the assistant manager, why are you hiring an assistant manager? I don't know. The way they've spent their money makes no sense to me. But anyway, so she's like, after this fight with her mother, she's like, yeah, I'm a good cleaner, and I'm gonna take those skills and I'm gonna go get a maid job at a different hotel, and then the second I can, I'm gonna apply to their managerial scheme or whatever. And that's like the end of that conversation with her mother. And so the next thing, we see her getting a job at the Roosevelt, and she's supposed to be a maid there, and things are going well. The thing though that bugs me is that she's got all of this press attention to her. What freaking hotel is going to hire her as a maid so soon?
Well, not only that, the press attention, and also the fact that she got fired from her previous job as a
Yes.
maid
Yeah, for
because
stealing.
I can't imagine. And if she did get a job in a hotel, it wouldn't be another hotel like the Roosevelt. It would be like, the Sunny Side Motel, or the Motel
Mhm.
6 that's over on like 10th or 11th Avenue. It would
Yeah.
not be in a fancy schmancy
Or like
hotel on the East Side.
some small hotel where they're like, we're willing to give anybody a chance, and it's like some sort of some sunshiny shtick like that. Not the Roosevelt. That makes no sense. And it's
No.
clearly the Roosevelt too, because you see the name on the
Yeah.
sign. So it makes no sense. But anyways, and then we see Chris give this like impassioned speech about lying and being honest about who you are and giving people a chance, and like she's the one who has done the worst thing here, and that bothers me. That bothers me too. Like, all she did was wear an outfit for an afternoon that was immediately returned. Like, she didn't take it home with her. She didn't sell it. She just wore it, an outfit that had already been forsaken.
Yeah.
Because they're clear to say that Caroline doesn't want that. It's being returned. The only thing she did was wear it in the in between. Um, so that's the only thing she did. She did give a wrong name. True,
No,
but
he assumed that her name was Caroline.
that's right. That's right. He assumed her name was Caroline. And she let him assume it, and all she did was try and get away from him. He's the one who insisted on seeing him. So like
He pursued her.
he fucked up her life, not the other way around. But she's carrying on with her life. So I don't know why he had to give his little fucking press speech about forgiving people. Um,
And
and
then Ty
so
shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So they see on the TV that he's going to be literally at her hotel that day giving a press conference. And she's like, I'm not going to go see him. Ty decides to ditch school after he gets there. I think she drops him off to go down to her hotel and crash the press conference. Like, where is the security in anything? I would love to know.
And
And
how does he have the money to get like on the bus or the train to get into, like, did he use his lunch money? I mean,
well, as a former city kid, you at least always have at least a little bit of money to get home. Like, I don't know, maybe he just had like a Metro card with like enough for like one ride. I don't know.
well, and the other thing is, why the Hotel Roosevelt? Like, why?
Okay, that's a great question too. My only guess is that they just wanted the press. Of all the places though, right? Why there?
He's staying at the Beresford. I assume that he's still staying at the Beresford unless they were
Well,
like, we don't want you.
so there's actually a passage of time here, and I don't think that was very clear. It's like been a couple of months, I think.
I guess they they weren't very clear
No.
how much time had passed.
Like I think they meet in the spring, and by time she's at the Roosevelt and he's at the Roosevelt, it is Christmas. Because I think she has like a little Christmas tree or something that morning. And everybody's wearing turtlenecks and long sleeves. So like I'm thinking it's like almost Christmas time when he runs into him at the Roosevelt. And so whatchamacallit, Ty goes to this press conference. He's like, okay, so we can forgive people, even maids and all this other stuff. And he comes to him and he's like, you did really good speaking in public. And he shows that he's holding the pin like he told him. And he's like, look at me, I'm also holding the paper clip, just like I told you. See, I really do get scared too. And he's like, where is she? And he's like, she's in this hotel, follow me. And they go racing through the halls of the hotel looking for Marissa, and with the press trailing behind them. um and of course he finds her in the back halls doing her job. And before she can even speak, he kisses her, and basically that's happily ever after.
And then they're like, "Hello, hello," that little moment. But I love, like, they're together, and then you see like the flash of he wins his election as
Mhm.
senator.
And she's
And
revolutionizing being a manager.
oh yes, amazing, amazing. Um, and they're having, they don't end up married. You see the headline, it's been a year, and you gather that they've had a long distance relationship,
Mhm.
instead of her, like, you know
Following him around the
potentially,
country.
or like getting a job in a hotel in Washington DC.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, you get the implication though that they are supposed to end up together, even though she's revolutionizing the hotel managing world, with her
Yes.
girl gang.
Yes,
Um,
so now all managers, like all the other former maids that she hung out with, they've all gotten manager positions,
yes, they're all
because
maids.
she inspired them so much to go for it and become managers. Let's
Managers.
let's forget the fact that people actually go to college to get degrees in hotel management.
No, no, no. Not here, okay? That's not how this works. But anyway, so that's Made in Manhattan. I've told you
Yes,
how I feel about it.
I loved every minute of it, even
I
though it
will
makes no sense.
I will admit, J Lo and Ralph Fiennes are very, very attractive with each other. And they do look at each other like they are interested in each other, and so that the
Yes.
chemistry, at least in that respect, was there, and I appreciated that. It did make me kind of wish that Ralph Fiennes was in more romance kind of things.
And it's interesting because I just read an article where he said, um, he actually regretted taking the role in Maid in
Really?
Manhattan. And he took it because he's done so many intense, arty, important pictures like The English Patient and all this. And he said he wanted to do a movie where he was more, I guess, passive and less angsty,
Mm-hmm.
to see if he could do it.
Mm.
But he found it hard because he wasn't being angsty and deep.
Which is funny because I thought he's really good with,
That he was just the man candy in the movie. And I thought he was very good too. I mean, I thought, his American accent sort of went in and out a little bit at times.
yeah.
I mean, I thought if maybe they had let him play a British politician
Yeah.
who maybe was coming to, I don't know, speak at the UN or something, um,
Yeah.
and just let him be
We
more,
learned English. The
instead
man's
of,
English on English.
yeah, let him play Tony Blair instead of JFK Jr.
Yeah.
I think that might have helped. So I enjoyed their relationship. I enjoyed J Lo with her son Ty. I even kind of enjoyed her friendship with the other maids. Like,
Mm.
they had a cute where they were like sort of dancing together. Um, the problem for me, the only thing I really don't like is I felt that they had stuck Natasha Richardson in this sort of one note role, is this sort of, you know, kind of bitchy, but also kind of desperate at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. I mean, like, when she was tipping her, she was only giving her $1.
Yeah.
But, like crying about her boyfriend you know, and like latching on to Chris. I mean, I think the film would have been maybe more interesting or stronger if they had developed the relationship between Caroline and Chris maybe more, instead of it just being this, sort of like mistaken identity. I'm not really interested in you type thing, because at least it would have given some tension, a little bit more tension. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe if they had made her his fiance,
Or,
or
I mean, maybe not his fiance, but like if they had some history together
yes,
and some sort of history where like they traveled in the same circles, they went to the same parties, they were part of the same social set in England, and lo and behold, accidentally they end up in the same hotel in New York City, and she's had this like bad relationship fallout, and she sees him and she gets this note asking her to lunch, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, he's ready to give it a go," kind of thing. Like that would be interesting. But yeah,
yeah,
their lack of actual history makes makes the fact that when she does show up to his room and it's not Marissa, it doesn't have as much, the stakes aren't as high. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't want to get rid of this woman because he doesn't this isn't the woman he wants. Like if he wants to get rid of her because not only is this not the woman he wants, this is a woman he cannot stand to be around.
right,
Which would make his reaction when he is trying to dodge her that much better.
yeah. And Natasha Richardson can do an American accent. So if they had made her American as well, someone, like maybe, you know, they'd run around in the same circles in Manhattan, like political circles,
Hmm.
maybe, or what have you. That would have made more sense. I mean, in a way, her role was what they call the Bellamy in romantic comedy, that love interest that the
Hmm.
hero is not going to end up with. But
Hmm.
here, it's so obvious that he wants nothing to do with her.
Yeah.
His skin is practically, that you don't really, she's not really an obstacle, a real obstacle in their relationship. She's just
Yeah.
sort of there. She's
Hmm.
more of an obstacle in Marissa getting what she wants, which is, this, to stay in this managerial program. But she's not really an obstacle in her relationship with Chris.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think like Stanley Tucci's more of an obstacle.
Oh yeah, Stanley is doing his damnedest to get in the way. Because he immediately perceives Marissa as a threat, and this is one of those things where we talk about the early Jennifer Lopez rom-coms where her ethnicity is mostly implied. It's not actually like directly referenced, because part of the reason why, I mean, it's not text exactly, at least in the beginning, that Jerry doesn't like her because he worries politically having a Latina as a love interest for uh his
Wasp.
politician, yeah, his boss, is politically risky. Like that is clearly the subtext of why Jerry is like is nervous about her. Now, like at the beginning, they kept calling her Mediterranean, or they're just like unsure. Like, let's be real, everybody knows that J Lo is a Latina. It's
Yeah.
plainly up. It's it's not really a guessing game, but it is a guessing game for those characters. And when she says that her last name is Ventura, he's like Spanish. Like you can see, like he's even more quaking in his boots. Like, oh, so not only is she a mystery woman, but she's a minority mystery woman. This is definitely politically risky for me.
Who's probably a Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. He's already told him, like, stay away from Democrats. Like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah. I'm trying to think how many Cinderella stories is it that she bumps into the prince before the actual ball?
Um,
Do they do
I
it in Rogers and Hammerstein one?
no,
Let
I
me think.
don't think from what I remember.
Yeah, because they don't do it. They definitely don't do it in the Disney one. They don't do it in. I don't think they do it in the Rogers and Hammerstein.
They don't do
Um,
it in either of the animated version or the live action that they did. They
yeah. So I really think, and this is just my fangirl showing. I really do think they cribbed the whole her running into him before the ball at from Ever After.
maybe it's been so long since I've seen Ever After.
Because what they because and this is what got me to thinking about it, because and Ever After the same thing happens where she runs into the prince. He's stealing the horse and he doesn't really notice it's her. And then she runs into him later when she's dressed up in um a fine lady's clothes to go save her service her one of her employees um from being sold off into slavery. Um and that's when he sees her and he's following her and he's trying to talk to her and she's trying to get away. And I don't know, that just kind of stuck in my head. I really do love Ever After. I think it's like one of the best adaptations of Cinderella out there. Of course the Brandy one is also very good too, but if we're going like strict like adaptation of it and not like actual Cinderella specifically with all the magic and fun stuff, I think Ever After's my favorite. But I think that also kind of it feels like they cribbed it from there. But I'm trying to remember if maybe my preferences are showing and I just think that they stole it from it because I love Ever After so much and I don't like this movie. Um, that's
I,
all.
I think that part of the reason why I like the movie is it's a movie where J Lo plays someone who is lower middle class.
Mm,
It's one of the few movies where she's not like in the Wedding Planner. She's sort of like a little bit more together, a little bit
hmm
more. This is a movie where um she's more aspirational. I see her in this movie as the J Lo that was a fly girl
mm,
and had big dreams of being something more than a fly girl. So it's
mm,
nice to see her play you know a role like that. It's a role that after a while she just couldn't play anymore. Particularly I think after the Jenny on the Block thing, um she sort of like, I don't want to say like sort of acted her way out of those type of roles.
hmm
Um, and again, it's nice to see Ray Fiennes play someone who is romantic and
hmm
not someone who dies at the end, or, you know, is just handsome and charming.
Yeah.
I mean, the two, she's really, really pretty in this. She's not wearing a lot of makeup,
Mm-mm.
and he's just at his most charming and handsome in this. And they do have chemistry. So for me, it's one of the reasons why I really like this movie. And yes, a lot of it is ridiculous and doesn't, when you really like break it down, you're like, whoa, that really doesn't make any sense. But as a whole, it kind of comes together.
I can see why people do enjoy it. It does have some funny bits, and like you said, Rafe and J Lo are just like they're very watchable in this.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I wish that he did play, sort of lighter roles. I mean, he did do the Avengers movie, not the, you know, Marvel Avengers, the
yeah,
Diana Rigg,
with Uma
um,
Thurman.
Patrick McNee, and the role that he plays in the Kingsman movie is that sort of
And
light.
I liked him in that too. Like everything about that movie, the politics of it is so, but like I liked him in that, and I liked watching him and Gemma Arterton like kind of spar with each other. Like they were. Again, I wish he would do things where it was lighter and
Yeah,
more funny and a little bit more and romantic. Like that would be awesome. I would watch him do that.
yeah. If someone could come up with like a really smart script, um, where like two older, if you put him and Emma Thompson together
Hmm.
in like a rom-com about two divorced people who have given up on finding love, and then they meet because I don't know, their kids are getting married or something, and they fall for each other. I would totally
Yeah.
watch that. Totally watch that.
I will say one thing I do appreciate about this movie is that Rafe and J Lo are actually pretty close in age.
Yes.
And so like it wasn't some really gross age difference between the two of them. Like if he had been like 15 years older than her, I probably would definitely never agree to watch this movie ever again. But like they're actually peers, and so I will give that movie the credit for that.
Yes. I have to say that's one of the things, in the rom-coms of old, um, you would find like huge age differences, like, Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn and Sabrina, or even Harrison Ford and Julia Ormond in the Sabrina remake. They have that
Mhm.
huge age difference, and it's so icky.
Yeah. Yeah, theirs is I don't think theirs is as was as bad as
Humphrey Bogart and
Audrey.
Audrey Hepburn, yeah,
Yeah, but it is still pretty big. It's still pretty big. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay. Well, thank you for talking to me about this movie. What do you have going on?
What do I have going on? Well, I have a book out right now. It's a true crime. It's called Pretty Evil New York. So, if you want to read about historical lady criminals of New York State, women like Stephanie St. Clair and Ruth Snyder, and a couple of other really fun, evil, criminally type women, if that's your jam, that's out right now. And that's pretty much what's going on. I'm probably going to watch another rom com tonight.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Elizabeth, so much for
Thank you for
coming
having
on.
me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and thank you for, I guess, essentially being my guinea pig for doing a live episode. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. This was fun.